Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chairman Walt Disney Parks and Resorts, Tom Staggs.
Sorry, I'm still channeling a little of that Jedi thing, I think. Welcome to What's Next. So, are you guys all having a great time this week? Yeah. Over the last day and a half, we've gone under the sea. We've gone to galaxies far, far away, and we've been transported by a spectacular new parade. Now, as excited as we are about all of these new attractions, we're just as excited about the endless adventures that lie ahead. Walt Disney famously said that Disneyland will never be complete as long as there is imagination left in the world. And as we create new experiences in new places around the world, we find this is never more true today, more true than it is today. We're focused on creating experiences that are vital and relevant, just as we have for the last 55 years. Of course, we want to preserve those great, iconic Disney attractions that our guests love. But we also want to keep pushing the envelope of innovation, technology, and storytelling to develop new attractions, new shows, new venues that will continue to astound, amaze, and delight our guests. Right now, we are in the largest period of growth in the history of Disney parks and resorts. Not only do we have a number of projects in the works, we have a number of really big projects. Really big. As we've come to appreciate, though, that a Disney experience is much more than mansions, castles, or even mountains that we build. A Disney experience truly comes to life when we find unexpected ways to connect with our guests and help them create memories that last a lifetime. Immersing our guests in their favorite stories, wowing them at every turn is what makes Disney, Disney. Whether you're in Southern California, in Orlando, Paris, Tokyo, Hong Kong, Shanghai, or Hawaii, we're always going to be thinking about what's next. So today we're here to share a few details of some of the very exciting projects, including Aulani, our new resort in Hawaii, that I think will set the new standard for a Hawaiian vacation experience. We'll talk about the Disney Fantasy, which will set sail next spring, the sister ship to the Disney Dream, which is already delighting guests today. And exciting plans, of course, for what's taking place behind you, Carsland here at Disney's California Adventure. So I want to thank all of you once again for joining us the last couple of days, and I hope you really enjoy the show. Thanks very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this morning as we look towards the exciting future that Walt Disney Parks and Resorts is building. It's time for a very special edition of What's Next? give a warm welcome to your event tour guide, Angela.
Enjoyed serving as your event tour guide over the past 2 days as we've traveled to the world beneath the sea, back in time to Main Street, USA, and to a galaxy far, far away, with a little stop at the Disneyland Hotel in between. Can you guys believe all the work that's happening over there? It's a lot. Well, we've got one more itinerary in store for you this morning. We are going to take a journey into the midst of the magic that's being designed, created, and built. And we've got some exciting stops ahead for you today. Today, we will be visiting the future of the Disneyland Resort, specifically Disney California Adventure. The high-octane world of Carsland. The new horizon of the Disney Cruise Line. And the exotic shores of Hawaii. So here, to help us begin our journey, please welcome the president of the Disneyland Resort, George Kalogridis.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome on this beautiful Southern California morning. This is a very exciting time for all of us here at the Disneyland Resort as we are well over the halfway mark in the second largest expansion in our resort's history. As you'll hear in a few moments, we are working diligently towards our goal, our ultimate goal, of making Disneyland Resort the multi-day destination in Southern California. In addition, our progress continues to bolster the economy of Southern California. Our decision to invest so significantly in the expansion at Disney California Adventure was based chiefly on extensive guest research. We found that our guests were looking for three key elements. First, they wanted a more immersive environment. Secondly, they were in search of more family attractions. And finally, they just wanted more Disney. So while we opened 2 new great attractions during the past 2 days, we have even more to open this summer. In just a few weeks, July 1st to be exact, we'll see the opening of our newest attraction at Paradise Pier, Goofy's Sky School. Inspired by the classic Goofy how-to shorts of the 1940s and 50s, as well as the cartoon short Goofy's Glider, the theme of this coaster is a flying academy with your pal Goofy, with twists and turns and dips as Goofy tries to navigate you through the novice pilots through this new attraction. Also coming to Paradise Pier at the same time are 2 new restaurants, Boardwalk Pizza and Pasta and the Paradise Garden Grill. Themed as authentic family-owned venues, they'll feature great menus offering mouth-watering Italian and Mediterranean cuisine. And that's just the beginning, for as you know, we have a very, very big year ahead of us in 2012. As we speak, the main entrance of Disney California Adventure is in the process of getting a brand new look. This new entrance, modeled after the landmark Pan Pacific Auditorium in Los Angeles, will lead our guests directly into the park. This is an early computer rendering which allows us to fly through the front portion of the park and along Buena Vista Street. At the end of the street, you can see the Carthay Circle Theater, a recreation of one of California's most iconic movie palaces. The Carthay Circle truly epitomizes the golden age of Hollywood. Buena Vista Street is our new thoroughfare into the park, and it ultimately sets the tone with a terrific sense of time and place. As we make our way back to the main entrance, you get a sense of the new space and of the many shops and storefronts that are all themed to the California of yesteryear. While Main Street over in Disneyland is reminiscent of where Walt Disney grew up, Buena Vista Street will give guests a sense of what Los Angeles was like when Walt Disney arrived in the early 1920s. Also included in our expansion will be the Red Car Trolley, based on the Southland's historic Pacific Electric Red Car line. It will transport guests along Hollywood Boulevard and Buena Vista Street. Here's a closer look of the Carthay Circle, which was where Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs premiered back in 1937. I should mention that it will also contain an incredible new table service restaurant and lounge. So on behalf of the 21,000 cast members here at the Disneyland Resort, we can't wait to share these new experiences with you next year. Thank you so much for your support, and thank you for being here today.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from Walt Disney Imagineering, Vice President and Executive Producer Kathy Mangum, and Senior Concept Writer-Director Kevin Rafferty.
Good morning, everyone. We are so thrilled to be able to stand here and give you not just a preview of Carsland, but this beautiful, beautiful view into it. And I just want to point out, look how small those guys are up on those Cadillac
Don't they look
fins.
real?
It's just the scale of this project, the scale of Carsland is just so incredible, and it is really going to immerse our guests into the world of Cars, into the movie of Cars. We're building Radiator Springs, the town of Radiator Springs, and we've got 3 attractions and merchandise and food, and we're going to take you through the whole thing. It's really going to, we're just so excited. So next year, 2012. So this is a beautiful view. One thing we should point out is it's one of the entrances into Carsland. You're actually sitting on what will be walkway from Pacific Wharf into Carsland, but our main entrance is just a few feet down that way to the east, and that is right across from the Blue Sky Cellar, and that is going to be Route 66 going into the town of Radiator Springs, which is what this rendering shows right now. So what we thought we'd do today is sort of walk you down the street, tell you what's going to be in each facility and what each attraction is going to be like, and then take you on a real tour of it. Since we can't go walk it, we're going to do it virtually with a video. So let's get started. Just like in the movie, just like in the real Radiator Springs, the outskirts of town is where Mater lives, in Mater's Junkyard. And we're no different. Outside we will have Mater's Junkyard Jamboree, which is going to, think of it as like a giant square dance where our guests will be pulled around by these really cute baby tractors in these little trailers, and Mater is singing songs the entire time.
Yeah, we're writing brand new songs for Mater to sing. And just so you know, we did a little mock-up of this arrangement at Imagineering. We had a tractor and we hooked up a little trailer to it, and we did a little course that's going to take place in Mater Junkyard Jamboree. And as Mater would say, it's going to be fun!
It's a lot of fun. And here's our little baby tractor and the trailer. This is an actual ride vehicle that we have built and painted up. So you can just see how appealing these guys are going to be out there dancing around. Right across the street from Mater's Junkyard Jamboree is Fillmore's Tastin'. And Fillmore, you know, he's all natural. He's a natural guy. So he's going to be serving fruit and juices and nuts. This is a snack food location, but sort of more natural foods. And then he's right next door to his kind of cranky neighbor Sarge at Sarge's Surplus Hut. So we'll have a Quonset hut out there.
A little more manicured than Fillmore.
Slightly more manicured. A little bit down the way is the Cozy Cones, Sally's Cozy Cones. Now Sally is all about cones. So we've got 5 cones. In the movie, those cones actually serve as motel rooms. In this case, we're going to serve snack food out of each cone. Snack food such as
pop cone, chili cone carne, and
frozen cone concoctions.
Yeah.
We got a million of them, but we can only do 5.
Sally's having this great food conanza today, so you just happen to be here on the right day.
You'll sit under cone-shaped umbrellas outside and eat your cone food. And then right next door to that is Radiator Springs Curio Shop, a really beautiful little shop that will sell pins and small merchandise, small items. And this is obviously taken from the movie, but we are really propping it out based on some of the Route 66 trips that we took for these wonderful curio shops that you see along the way in Hackberry, Arizona, or Tucumcari, New Mexico.
We had this our core creative team went on this Route 66 road trip for research, and we went into all the curio shops and went off the beaten path and met all the people and ate all the food along the way.
Yeah,
We had
really
too much pie, but we got to go inside the curio shops along the way. And the great thing about that is in the film, you never really got to go into these places. You didn't get to go into Flo's V8 Cafe and the curio shop, but you will be able to step into these places and learn a little bit more about the characters, your favorite characters from the film.
So speaking of food, because we did eat a lot of it on Route 66, we've got Flo's V8 Cafe. Wonderful food that has been inspired by what you get on Route 66. A lot of comfort food, a lot of macaroni and cheese, really savory sandwiches, and one thing that we fell in love with was pie, a lot of pie.
And inside of Flo's, we get to learn the backstory of Flo when she was part of the Motorama Girls, the touring group out of Detroit. And so we get to see a lot of her gold records and the posters from their tours. And also as part of that, Doc's Museum is going to pay tribute to Doc Hudson, Fabulous 51 Hornet, and you'll be able to see all his backstory within the dining area of Flo's V8.
Lots and lots of detail in here. We're having so much fun with it. And then right next door to Flo's is Ramon's House of Body Art. Now Ramon in the shop, or in the movie, you know, he can paint, he can style, he can really paint you up. So Ramon's House of Body Art is going to be beautifully done, and it's a merchandise location for us for Carsland product. And across from Ramon's is our second attraction. We have 3 attractions in the land: Mater's Junkyard Jamboree, and in the back of Luigi's Casa de la Tires will be housed Luigi's Flying Tires. So you will pass through Luigi's showroom where all of his Fettuccine brand tires will be beautifully displayed, and you'll walk out into the back and you'll go into his tire yard, and you will be able to experience Luigi's Flying Tires.
Well, Luigi and Guido will hook up their air compressor, because they're in their tire business, and they will hook up their air compressor to the storage yard out back, and as they do that, you will literally lift up off the ground and float on air.
You're like flying on air.
Flying on air.
Now, we do have Mike up on the Tower of Terror balcony with a live video to take us into the land. And everyone, hey Mike, can you see us?
Hey Mike.
Everybody wave to Mike. He's over to the east. Hey Mike. So Mike, can you take us into the land? Let's start with the cozy cones. You will pull back. You don't get more updated than this. There they are. So we've got 3 cones framed out. Sally will have her office in front. So you'll be able to walk up to these cones, order your food, and then sit and enjoy this beautiful courtyard that's being formed by the cones. So now let's just pan a little bit over to the, yep, perfect. There's it's the Radiator Springs Curio Shop. You can see, hopefully in the sun, it's all covered in brick, sort of aged brick, and it's just a gorgeous little shop. And then if you tilt up, Mike, there we go. There's a frame for Flo's V8 Cafe, so that one day soon will look like a giant air filter. One thing about Carsland, and not just the buildings, but also in the rock, you might start to see some hints at car shapes like hood ornaments, wheel wells, grills, and the architecture is the same way. So this is a great big air filter one of these days. Keep on going, Mike, and we'll look at, there's Luigi's Flying Tires, Luigi's Casa de la Tires building. You can see the tire finials on the top, all out of plaster. And then back behind that is the play floor. And if we just tilt up a little bit, you can see that sort of scooped shape. That is Ramon's House of Body Art buildings. That's our merchandise location. This little Radiator Springs downtown is the scale is just so wonderful. We were walking through it last night, and right here we're at the 4 corners, where all the commerce is happening. We'll have the telephone poles lining the street. We'll have the blinking light, stoplight overhead that is always on yellow.
You are there.
And at night, it will be all covered in neon, just like it is in the movie. So it is going to be a gorgeous, gorgeous land at night. But we also cannot ignore this giant mountain we've got here, this ornament valley that we're building. It's about 6 acres of hand-sculpted rock. That's what those little guys are doing up there. Is they're sculpting and painting our rocks. So they're real artisans from around the world.
They are. So now we'll take you to Radiator Springs Racers. And I have to say, I've worked on a lot of projects. I'm so excited about. This is amazing. It's huge. Out of the 12-acre Carsland that we're building, 6 acres, as Kathy said, encompasses Radiator Springs Racers. It's going to be amazing. And so, Mike, if you can take us down to that view of the wheel well area. We learned in the film, in the bonus material of the DVD, John Lasseter tells a story about Stanley, and Stanley was the founder of Radiator Springs. And yeah, if you can just stop in that shot, that'd be wonderful. And so, as far as the story went, Stanley founded a radiator cap business when he blew his radiator cap and he found the natural spring, nature's coolant. And so what we got to do as Imagineers is to continue on with that storytelling. We wanted to create a beautiful little shaded, water-filled area where you're going to wait in line to get on this attraction. And we've turned it into Stanley's Oasis. And this is the original settlement of Radiator Springs before the town grew out. And the settlement started with the radiator cap shop, which you'll queue through, and it goes to a service station which Stanley built. And in those days, when you changed oil, you used glass bottles. And so Stanley saved up all the glass bottles, and being the showman he was, as well as a great service technician, he built a bottle house. And so we created a roadside attraction on Route 66. That became so popular, he invented, he established the Cozy Caverns Motor Court, which is just inside that wheel well you see on the frame. And so that's where you were going to load onto a 6-passenger car character vehicle and begin this rollicking road trip through the countryside of Ornament Valley. And what's wonderful about that is it's the same, very similar road trip to what Lightning and Sally did in the film, where they go through this great archway and there's a reveal of this beautiful, glorious waterfall coming down, and you get a great view over Carsland before you go inside the rock there, and you have an encounter with your favorite car characters from the film, beginning with Mac and several others. And I'm not going to give away the whole thing. You're going to have to come back and see it. We have lots of fun secrets in that. But one of the great moments is Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. I think bye, Mike. so the first moment is. Sheriff will come out, you're speeding through the countryside, and he pulls you over. He says, "You're not racing yet. Follow Mater into town, and we'll get you ready." Well, here comes Mater, and he does what he does best, is he drives backwards, and you're following him forwards as he's inviting you to do his favorite thing, a little side trip, tractor tipping. But what happens there is you wake up Frank, and Frank chases you into town, and you go to the town of Radiator Springs, where all of the residents welcome you. And we have Sally, the mayor, and Lightning welcome you to town. And Lightning will say something like, "You know, it takes more than speed to win a race. You have to have style, ka-chow." So he invites us to either go into Luigi's and have a tire change, go to Ramon's, have a little paint touch-up. From there, we go into where we meet Doc Hudson, who's our crew chief, just like he was with Lightning McQueen in the film. And we and then we go out to where we see Luigi and Guido at the start of the race with the flag. And this is where we learn we're going to race against another vehicle, another car filled with guests, just like you, just like ourselves. And so Luigi drops the flag, and we head outside. And we did, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, last summer we did a test. Some of you might know this, but we built one of our vehicles and we put it on a track out here on site and took it around for many, many weeks just to check it out. And of course, we couldn't do that without riding it. And we rode it, and we can show you firsthand. It is fun. This race is really going to be a good one. So there's our vehicle. Each vehicle will look like it comes from the movie. It's going to look like it lives in the world. It's got a smile on its face and eyes in the windshield. It looks like a giant slot car. It's really a big slot car race. And the G-forces you get as you make these banking turns, and we have a lot of elevation changes, and all the time you're racing another car. It is really exciting and fun. We were thrilled with it.
That Camelback hump you just saw, it is a blast. And then you go digging around the corner at Willie's Butte there, and you dive down the other side, heading back into the building where we actually have a really wonderful part of Ornament Valley, which is a natural wonder called Taillight Caverns. And Taillight Caverns is not filled with stalagmites and stalagmites. It is filled with stalagmites. Yeah. It's filled with stalagmites, which are designed in the style of old 50s style cars. And in that scene, you come back from the race, we're going to create different ride profiles so that you will cross the finish line at different times, so you may get a different one each time you go. But when you come back into Taillight Caverns, you're welcomed back by Lightning and Mater. Well, that sounds like Mater now. Here he comes, one of the residents of Radiator Springs, the one and only Mater!
Coming through! Excuse me! Coming through! Excuse me!
Hey, Mater!
Hey, buddy.
All right, Mater, you've been tipping tractors, and we've been building Carsland.
Well, that sounds like fun, too. Exactly what I was thinking.
And you know, Mater, we can't wait for 2012 when we get to open Carsland. But in the meantime, thanks for dropping by. It's great to see you.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, thanks, Mater.
Everybody say goodbye to Mater.
So we look forward to seeing you again next year when we open up Carsland. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome President Worldwide Operations, Walt Disney Parks and Resorts, Al Weiss.
Well, hello everyone. I'm excited to be here today to tell you about some of the plans we have for Disney Cruise Line in 2012. We've had a very exciting year so far with the launch of our third ship, the Disney Dream. The Dream joins the Disney Magic and the Disney Wonder, which is now based right here on the West Coast. Innovative guest experiences are a hallmark of Disney Cruise Line, a tradition we proudly extended to our newest ship. You may have heard about Aqueduct, the first ever shipboard water coaster. It is a blast. Our magical portholes for inside staterooms, or the Buccaneer Blast deck party featuring the only fireworks spectacular at sea. Now we're prepared to offer more opportunities for guests to enjoy Disney Cruise Vacation as we get ready to welcome our fourth ship. The Disney Fantasy will set sail from Port Canaveral, Florida on her maiden voyage in March with week-long trips to the Caribbean. The Fantasy will feature many of the innovative elements you'll find aboard the Dream, but with a few surprising twists that will give the ship a unique identity all of its own. One of the most exciting enhancements we're making to the Disney Fantasy is Animation Magic, and it's an experience at Animator's Palette. This restaurant celebrates the art of animation with images of classic Disney and Disney Pixar characters. The best part is that we will invite our guests to draw their own animated characters. Then, with a bit of Disney magic, guest drawings come to life as fully animated figures. The drawings will even join scenes from Disney movies and dance side by side with characters such as Jiminy Cricket, Cinderella, and Snow White. It's going to be unlike anything anyone has ever seen. For adults, the Disney Fantasy will offer a new collection of sophisticated bars and lounges that will take adults on a journey all across Europe. Guests will be able to watch live sporting events in an Irish bar or relax in an elegant French-inspired lounge. And the Tube will be a vibrant metropolitan club reminiscent of the London Underground with mod furniture and a Union Jack dance floor. For the younger set, we'll open the first Bippity Boppity Boutique on the high seas. Young princesses can get pixie-dusted makeovers, and landlubbers of any age can be transformed into pirates. Like the other ships in our fleet, the Disney Fantasy will feature the Walt Disney Theater, where guests can enjoy the best in original live musicals. Now the Fantasy, new to the Fantasy, is going to be Disney's Aladdin. It's a musical spectacular. The show features Genie and the cast from Aladdin in a show inspired by the long-running favorite right here at Disney California Adventure. The Fantasy is going to be another amazing ship deserving of the Disney name. With the Dream and the Fantasy sailing out of Port Canaveral in 2012, the Magic and the Wonder can embark on new voyages from other great home ports. I'm proud to be here to tell you personally that the Disney Wonder will once again return to the Port of Los Angeles next year. The ship will embark on fall, winter, and early spring sailings before heading to Alaska for the summer. And for next year's Alaska season, the Disney Wonder will set sail from a new home port in Seattle. The ship will visit Skagway, Juneau, and Ketchikan, as well as a new stop in Victoria, British Columbia. Meanwhile, the Disney Magic is setting its sights on New York City. Starting in May of next year, guests will be able to sail on a variety of itineraries, including cruises to the Bahamas. The ship will spend a day in Port Canaveral, Florida, and guests will even get tickets to enjoy the Walt Disney World theme parks. Guests will be able to travel from Disney to the Big Apple, from the Big Apple up the New England coast to Canada, another first ever itinerary for Disney Cruise Line. These cruises will call on Halifax, Nova Scotia, and St. John, New Brunswick. In the fall, the Disney Magic will head to the port of Galveston in Texas, where it will set sail to the Western Caribbean, stopping in Grand Cayman, Costa Maya, and Cozumel. We couldn't be more thrilled with the reaction we've received from our guests about our new ship and new itineraries. As you can see, there'll be more magic afloat in 2012 than ever in the history of Disney Cruise Line. Thanks everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Jason Castro. Welcome Senior Vice President Creative, Walt Disney Imagineering, Joe Rohde.
Well, we're just a couple months away from opening Aulani, our new resort, Disney Destination Resort on Oahu. We Imagineers are working furiously to get everything put together. Every day it gets more beautiful, we get more tired. But we're hurtling towards getting it done, and it really is spectacular. I want to talk to you a little about what it is we're doing here. We're very used to telling stories of which we are the authors, you know, stories that we have made up and we have presented to the world. But in this case, we're telling a story of a place that had a story before we got here, Hawaii. We are building a place that has taken us a tremendous research, tremendous interaction with the local Hawaiian community to make sure that the story we're telling at Aulani is a true story. The story of a place that people from all around the world have wanted to go to and do go to, and that is those islands of Hawaii. We're very good at taking stories and turning them into something physical, something that you can walk through, that you can experience. And this opportunity to deal with the richness and the depth and the traditions that is Hawaii is really fantastic. So what you're looking at is, of course, a model of that resort. It is well on its way to being built and turning into reality. A very large resort. It's the two towers and this beautiful garden that rolls out to the sea. And then as you approach the resort, there's this fantastic reveal of all this Hawaiian art. What you see throughout this resort is a tremendous amount of authentic Hawaiian detail incorporated into the body of the resort. Not simply art hanging on a wall, but art by Hawaiians about Hawaii, about these ideas, about these traditions, incorporated into the resort itself. Gives it a very authentic sense of place, a very authentic sense of having actually arrived somewhere. People fly in these airplanes across the Pacific Ocean to come to Hawaii. Where is it? And this gives them an opportunity to really understand that they've arrived someplace real. It's coming together very, very quickly. We want to sort of give you a basic sense of the site. It's about 21 acres. It sits on a cove that looks out into the west of the Pacific Ocean. It's at the Aulani Resort and Marina. It's got about 359 hotel rooms, about 480 Disney Vacation Club villas, and then this beautiful center garden that rolls out into the ocean. When guests arrive, they're going to walk into this beautiful hall. The name of that hall, Maka'ala, that has meaning. Maka'ala is a Hawaiian word that means open up your eyes and look. If you look, you will see. If you see, things will happen to you. Hawaiian names are not just labels for things. Hawaiian names are descriptions of what things actually are. And this is a place where if you look, you will see, and if you see, you will have these experiences. Things will happen. The hall is just completely beautiful. It's filling up with artwork. There are fantastic murals, fantastic carvings all through the interior. The names really mean something. As I said, Maka'ala, Aulani, for example. The name Aulani means one who speaks on behalf of a higher power. In this case, that higher power is the stories, is the traditions, is the culture of Hawaii. It's getting built even as we speak. The art program going up all over the walls. It ranges from very traditional to very, very contemporary, because Hawaiian culture is something that doesn't just dwell in the past, but also goes on into the future. That sense of elegance is something that I think people are not necessarily familiar with in Hawaii. The Hawaiian culture is a culture of perfection, a culture of beautifully polished objects, of finely finished details. And we want to take that spirit, that feeling, and put it into the whole hotel, including the rooms. When you go into these rooms, they're just beautifully appointed. Filled with Hawaiian detail. Almost everything you look at will give you some kind of message about where you are, from the carpets to the textiles and the drapeway to the design of the furniture that you're sitting on. But remember that this is a place that families are coming. Families want to be comfortable. And so we've taken a bit of patina and put it into the furniture ahead of time, so that, you know, if your kid is the first one to set a glass down on a table, you don't have to freak out, because we've already kind of taken care of a little bit of that rough edge that makes the place feel lived in, that makes you feel welcome when you arrive there. Now, there's restaurants. There's two beautiful restaurants. One, Ama is our waterfront restaurant. It looks out at the sunset across the Pacific Ocean. It's a blend of beautiful, traditional Hawaiian architecture and extremely sleek, modern expressions of the same Hawaiian aesthetics of elegance and perfection. Then there's Makahiki. Makahiki is the buffet restaurant. It undergoes a complete transformation from morning till nighttime. In the morning, it's our character buffet breakfast. At night, it's again this very elegant dining environment. There are beautiful murals by some of the most renowned artists in Hawaii that treat with the story of the Makahiki, which is a big Hawaiian celebration of bounty, of plenty, of unity, and of togetherness. And this is what we hope people will feel when they are together as a family in the Makahiki restaurant. One of my favorite places in the whole resort is the Olelo room. Olelo is the Hawaiian word for word. People go to Hawaii, right? And everything, every road, every highway, every hotel, every street, every beach, every mountain, every valley has a Hawaiian name. Nobody can say these names because you can't pronounce Hawaiian. So this entire lounge, which is also a bar in the evening, treats with Hawaiian language. Everything in the bar is labeled in Hawaiian. The floor is labeled in Hawaiian. The walls, the windows, the glasses you drink out of, the bartender's jacket labeled in Hawaiian. Flashcards on the table, which is also labeled in Hawaiian. And then the room is filled with these little carvings, which are in these little shadow boxes, and those all of those have their Hawaiian names on them as well. So there's kind of a social atmosphere in which you're trying to figure out how to pronounce all these words, and then the bartenders speak Hawaiian. So there's hopefully a place that encourages a lot of conversation, a lot of interaction, a lot of society around something very topical, which is being in this place and learning to be in this place so that you can enjoy going out into these islands, which are fantastic, and actually experiencing them. So then, there is a beautiful spa, Laniwai. Laniwai sort of means like sacred waters, waters of heaven, elevated waters. It's a 18,000 square foot spa. It is like an art installation. The interior of this spa is beautifully detailed around these themes of light and water, includes rooms that almost are just art installations, and has this beautiful rainforest hydrotherapy area outside with these pools that are in the forest, overhung with trees and moss and stones. Really fantastic. Now, the whole hotel wraps around this valley that rolls out to the sea, and the name of that valley is the Waikolohe Valley. Waikolohe in Hawaiian means water of mischief. Water of mischief. Kolohe is what your mom, my mom, would call you if you were getting into trouble. You are Kolohe, you get a spanking. So mischief is Kolohe. Waikolohe, waters of mischief. This part of the island is full of freshwater springs. The freshwater springs in the Waikolohe Valley, however, are all invested with this spirit of mischief. They jump over you, they squirt at you, they spill into the pool as you roll by. So there's this quality of magic and mischief throughout the entire valley. Plus, it acts like a real Hawaiian valley. It's deep and jungly as it's up at the high ground towards the center, and it becomes more desert-like as it rolls out to the sea with these huge lava rock extrusions that are rising up out of the landscape. What we tried to do here is to make this landscape seem like it was there when we built the resort. A lot of research into a very realistic geology that really looks like the rock of Oahu. Very old rock, not that black stuff like you would see on the big island of Hawaii, but old stone that's been there for a long time, eroded into all the shapes that you really do see, especially on this coast. And then in that rock are images. It's a very Hawaiian cultural tradition to see things in the world, to look at a stone and to see a fish or to see a shape. And so we've done this in the rock very subtly. Sometimes things that can only be seen at a certain time of year, things that can only be seen at a certain time of day, only be seen if the rock is wet. But there are images that are relevant to the culture of Hawaii all through the rock and stone of this environment, on top of which it totally looks like it's been there for 6 million years. Then there's all the play environments. There's the Menehune Bridge, which is one of our water play environments, which is dedicated to the legend of the Menehune, which are the little people of the Hawaiian Islands who build stuff. The big rock outcropping, which is called the Pu'ukila, which is the rock of images, is where all the slides are and all the caverns and the steam vents, and you roll all through there. It's got this beautiful pool lagoon. Then it's got these sunset lagoons that are like stepped jacuzzis that look out at the sunset, and then the whole site rolls out to the next lagoon, which is the real lagoon, which is full of the ocean, and that rolls out to the ocean itself. It's really spectacular. Where we are on the coast of Oahu has beautiful snorkeling out in the real ocean, but a lot of people don't want to go snorkeling out in the real ocean because there's big waves. So we built a beautiful snorkel lagoon, filled it with really, really spectacular tropical fish, and of course the Menehune are down there too, building little castles out of seashells for the fish. There's sparkling magic inside that interior as well. These places are not just architecture, not just things that have been built. They are things to do. We put special attention to what a family wants to do together and what the individuals of a family want to do as individuals. When parents want to spin off and do something on their own, when a family wants to gather together and do something together, when children want to go do something that children do. So there's all kinds of spreads of activity in the resort. There's also a lot of magic just buried in the resort. None of this is big spectacle magic. It's all very subtle magic, but it is everywhere. Things that come to life, images that reveal themselves, sounds that come out of the forest, all revolving around the myths and the legends and the stories and traditions of Hawaii. There is an interactive game that you play in which you help the Menehune to complete a whole bunch of tasks that are left uncompleted around the entire resort. There are character meet and greets. Our characters are present at the resort, but they, like us, are tourists coming to Hawaii. And so our characters, the manner in which you see them is always in the context of our characters being visitors like yourself, and sort of sharing with you the experience of being in this wonderful place. There are also traditional crafts and hula and storytelling and dancing. So there's all kinds of levels of activity involved here. there is a big nighttime entertainment event that happens. It's called the Starlit Hui. It starts out early in the evening with this very traditional treatment of what's called hula kahiko, the ancient hula of Hawaii. And it progresses through the evening to become more and more contemporary and more involving of the audience, until by the end of the evening, everyone is celebrating together. Really kind of part of what we're trying to say with this resort is to let you come somewhere where something will really happen to you. A visit to Hawaii is a quest for a kind of something to happen. It's a big investment of energy and time to cross the ocean, to go to this place, a place that is so special, that has its own stories and its own life. I just want to sort of close with a couple images here, because I think they're really quite unique. When you first pull up in front of Aulani, what you see is not a tropical garden necessarily with birds of paradise, not from Hawaii, big cycads and ferns, not from Hawaii, but rather a working taro farm, growing taro, which is the staple plant of Hawaii, the plant that feeds the people, the plant that is identified with the culture of Hawaii. And we've turned that into a beautiful working garden that is the entire front of that resort. That other object you see in that image, that stone, is the Pico stone of Aulani. Before anything was built at Aulani, the kahu, the sacred keeper of the meaning of this land, went out onto that site and identified the spiritual center of this land, which we protected through the entire construction process, had to select a stone, put that stone in that spot with full ceremony, and that stone has now become a location where local Hawaiians bring and set offerings, which is what you see in front of that stone. Now that is real. That's Hawaii. So when you take that journey, when you cross the ocean, when you come to Aulani, you are coming to Hawaii. Hawaii is not just land sitting in the ocean. Hawaii is a bunch of ideas. Hawaii is values. Hawaii is traditions. Hawaii is about family. It's about unity. It's about doing things together. It's about forming a bond. Hawaii is about perfection. It's about doing things with purpose and doing them very, very well. Hawaii is about magic. It's about the belief that there are magic things around you all the time. And Disney is about these things. We are these things as well. And so us in Hawaii makes sense. Us in Hawaii is a blend of ideas that fit together very well. Hawaii is about story. We are storytellers. And now that we've arrived there at Aulani, I think this blend of what it is that we are, really are, storytellers, believers in perfection, believers in unity and family, believers in magic, and what Hawaii is will combine to create something really special. Now, music plays a huge part in the culture of Hawaii, really a huge part. And to help to illustrate this idea, we have a special treat for you now. It's a traditional Hawaiian song, Pupo A'oela, and it's going to be performed for you now. I will release you from my hold and return to my seat, and welcome to the stage.
Pearly shell from the ocean, shining in the sun, covering the shore. When I see them, my heart tells me that I love you more than all those little pearly shells. Aloha kako. The Keiki and I have a little story we'd like to share with you. It's about the seashore at Aulani. Pupu ikana e na we mai ika mea ho ahe aina mai na kupuna mai ala hula kupuloa he ala hele no ka ahupaha ala hula kupuloa he ala hele no ka ahupaha lani ka ala he molele i ka mali wahiwi kaulana o ewa e ki ana i ka makani o ka aina hea e ka moa e ia au i ke